Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show that's all about speaking your truth, sharing your stories, and sparking the conversations that matter most. I'm your host, Rodney W. Collins, and this is the Speak On It Show. On this show, we dive deep into the thoughts, experiences, and ideas that shape our world. It's a place where voices are heard, perspectives are celebrated, and discussions are not just encouraged, but cherished. Whether it's culture, politics, personal growth, or just life's everyday adventures, we're here to explore it all. We've got engaging interviews, thought-provoking discussions, and sometimes we might even stir the pot a little bit. Speak On The Show is where we challenge the status quo, celebrate diversity, and engage in conversations that make us think, laugh, and grow. So get ready to be inspired, get ready to connect, and most importantly, get ready to speak your truth. Without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. It's time for the Speak On It Show with your host, Rodney W. Collins. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome. I am Rodney W. Collins. It's hashtag Speak On This Show. How's everybody doing? I'm a little tongue-tied this morning, y'all. Y'all bear with me. First and foremost, giving honor to the God who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. How's everybody doing out there this morning? Broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube this morning, like we do every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, on the Rodney W. Collins channel. You can go there, the Rodney W. Collins channel, tune in, like, share, subscribe, share it to somebody else. Let somebody else get involved in what we're doing over here. You know, it's time to build our followership and build our family to make it even bigger. So let's make it happen. Let's make it happen, y'all. Rodney W. Collins channel on YouTube and Facebook. Chapter 59. Chapter 59. We're 4 days into chapter 59. And celebrating my birthday, I want to say thank you to anyone and everyone, the text messages, the phone calls, the Facebook posts, however you may have acknowledged my birthday. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Chapter 59. And what I realized, chapter 59, only 4 days in, but I'm starting to get a little bit more clarity on what's going on in my life. A little bit more clarity and a vision. Richard P. Rowe, good morning, my brother. Appreciate you. Clarity and vision. And I don't know if it's because of the number 59 and 60 is around the corner. I'm not sure, but y'all going to benefit. Everyone in my life is going to benefit from this clarity and vision that I got going forward at this time. So I appreciate all the shout outs, the happy birthday messages, you know, everybody reached out and everything. But I want to start with this morning before we get into the conversation. So I went to our annual Jazz Fest that we go to here in Las Vegas. It's a 2-day event. And there was about 6,000 people each day, you know, even though the capacity says it only holds up to 3, you know, they're going to put people in because it's open seating, bring your chairs, bring your coolers, all that type thing, right? But as I was out there, we were sitting there talking. There were some people who hadn't been there before, and they were asking, is it always like this? How is it? You know, those type things. And I found myself, Terrence Collins, good morning, my brother. I found myself describing the Jazz Fest and everything that goes on and everything. And one thing that I kept saying was, there's no drama at this event. There's no drama. You don't see anybody fighting, arguing. There's no drama, this, that, and another. And then this week, as I was reflecting on that, I come to the realization that we as black folks, let me talk about black folks for a minute. We as black folks have a certain amount of PTSD. Now, I've said this before, but I want to bring it up to you because here's the thing that I realized. Me going to an event that I've been going to for years and looking around and seeing all my people having a good time. They was out there, you know, where them fans at, popping the fans, all that kind of stuff, you know, everybody having a good time. But the main thing that I concentrated on, or that I let everyone know who was there for the first time that I spoke to or we were speaking, was there's never any drama. You know, even though there's alcohol involved, there's no drama. And I had to step back for a minute and ask myself, why is it that the concentration on is what doesn't happen? Is it that the PTSD, the trauma that we have as Black folks, there's always something expected bad to happen when a group of us get together because this is what has been put into our mentality? I'm just asking. Somebody help me out if you understand what I'm saying. But I think there's something about that for us to recognize that we're in these events. And the one thing that stands out from us is not how much of a good time we're having, not how many different guests we've seen or artists we've seen there or new people we meet and everything. The biggest focus for a lot of us, I'm not saying everybody, for a lot of us is there's no drama. There's not a lot of chaos. There's not a lot of, fighting and arguing and all these different things. So I had to ask myself, what causes that with us? Well, when we get a group of us together, our main focus is that there wasn't any drama. Not that I had a good time, not that the party's always good and everything like that. What is that? Because what I've learned to understand, what I understand is this. We as a people have been put into this box, where the mentality when you get a bunch of us together is that there's something that's going to go wrong or something is not going to go right or some things are going to happen that shouldn't happen. So think about that. When you start getting into these environments or going to these places and you start describing to somebody that may be their first time there, when it's a bunch of us together, that when you come out your mouth and say there's no drama, what are you really saying? Are you saying that the expectation is there will be drama, and if there is no drama, then it's a good day? Rather than looking at it's a good day, and if drama happens, it's not because of the masses, it's because of certain individuals. I just wanted to put that out there because I think it's something that we need to step back for a minute and actually look at ourselves and think about how we see ourselves in spaces. In spaces. Because sometimes we get caught up in what has been the stereotype about us for so long that we lose focus of the greatness of what we are and who we are consistently in each and every day. Just wanted to throw that out there, man, because I seen another thing, and I'm going to get into this. Brian Hoodie, good morning, my brother. It's your hustle, absolutely. Well, yeah, appreciate you. Good morning, appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the support. There was another thing I seen, and I want to say this too. Tabitha Brown. I follow Tabitha Brown, and I'm sure a lot of y'all out there follow, Tabitha Brown. They call her Auntie Tab. She's the vegan, done all kind of different things. And they had her stuff in Target. They had her stuff in Target and everything. But she's on some type of a European trip for her anniversary and everything. And I seen a post she put up. Now, I want to read this post because it jumps out to what I said a few minutes ago in this thing about drama, per se. And in her post, she says, racism is so disgusting and ignorant. Like you really don't like people because they are different than you. Really let that sink in. Imagine hating people simply because their skin is a different color. That's insane. Do better. Now, mind you, she also put on this post, she's in Italy, and she said, to be clear, this isn't just about Italy. It happens everywhere. It isn't everyone, just like in America, it's not everyone that shows racism towards us as a people. And I wanted to bring that up to caveat what I talked about with the Jazz Fest. Sometimes our mentality, and we've heard this before, so I'm just going to put it out there, we've heard this. Brothers always going to mess something up. They're always going to mess up a good thing. There's certain times where we have to step back and ask ourselves, has the racism and the stereotypes that have been bestowed upon us, leaked into our systems where we spew the same things that racism is, like the racism is spewed towards us, towards each other, but in a different way. Using different verbiage and things like that. Like when we see, the kids on the corner with their pants sagging or whatever they choose their style to be. And we, rather than embracing them that this is who or what they want to portray as them, we locking doors, putting up windows, all these things, because there's this stigma and stereotype that they fit the description. Let me just put it that way. They fit the description of what we've all been told is not good. But when we go somewhere out of the country or even within the country and someone treats us bad simply because of their racist tactics towards Black people, we want to reach out to everyone loudly and identify how racism was shown towards us in these spaces. When in all reality, as I mentioned about the Jazz Fest, we show it towards our own people in certain spaces unconsciously, because it's been ingrained in the thinking and the mindset for so long with us in this country that we picked it up in certain ways. And now it's time for us to start identifying how we are minimizing our own people when we're with our own people, because there is no drama. To think that because there's no drama, there's something about us that always brings drama. And if we have something without drama, we think it's a one-off. We go many places where there's no drama. Many places where there's no drama. But I just wanted to put that out there this morning because I think with the PTSD, and I don't use that loosely, because there's a lot of people that suffer from PTSD from anything from rape victims, people that are deployed in the military and been in war zones and different things like that. But when I say PTSD, I mean that in a way of with us and the struggles we've had to deal with, the different things that go on. I think every African American in this country deals with some type of PTSD from the racism that they've either experienced, they've seen, or things that have been done to them. Take that with you this week. So let's get on into this. I'm going to start off with in the news because I got something I want to talk about, but it's dealing with us. So let's go on and get into this. Let's go. In the news. So we all know, we've all seen, we all heard about the tariffs. And the tariffs have been talked about and everything for the last probably, 100 days, because that's how long this person's been in office. But yesterday, I had some stuff being done, some work being done here at the house. And one of the first things that the technician told me was, if you're going to get it done, you might want to get it done today, because tomorrow, we had a meeting this morning, tomorrow these tariffs are going to kick in. It's going to be a 15% upcharge. And then he said, and then they're expecting another 15% on top of that within the next 30 days. So I'm listening to all this. My advice to anyone out there, if you're concerned about the tariffs or whatever's going on, the price is going up, I would tell you, large purchases, unless it's a necessity at this time, hold off. Any work you need done, major work around your house or anything you need to get done, if it's not a necessity at this time, hold off. Now, I know I'm not telling anybody nothing they don't know, but I'm just telling you with these tariffs and everything that you're talking about going on with it, 15% and another 15% within 30 days, things are going to skyrocket. Groceries, things like that, necessities. No ifs, no ands, no buts. Make sure you're eating. But what I'm talking about is large purchases. If you're talking about buying a car, hold off. If you're talking about buying new furniture, hold off. If you're talking about getting some work done around your house that is not a need right now, hold off. That's all I'm saying. But I want to get into this because it says, I found this article that talks about tariffs for us in the community. And it says, tariffs may be rising, but so is Black strategy. It says, Black entrepreneurs recently gathered in Atlanta for a panel discussion to strategize, not stress, amid economic pressures. Now, they said strategize, not stress. And that's what I'm telling you. Don't worry about making these big purchases at this time, or things if it's a necessity and it's something you have, your air conditioning go out or something goes out in your home that's another conversation. But I'm talking about those things that are niceties compared to necessities. Because we've all been there. You go back in your time when you weren't making the money you're making now, and you had to make those decisions about necessities compared to niceties. And necessities always won because the niceties could wait, unless you wanted to go into debt. But at this time, let's maintain the necessities and hold back on those niceties just until we see what's going to happen with these tariffs and what's going on. So they had this meeting, and it says, as inflation is by Cash Alexander. Cash Alexander. I found this on the Griot. And it says, as inflation surges and tariffs rise, Black entrepreneurs are not shrinking in fear. They're showing up, strategizing, and pushing forward with purpose. I saw this firsthand Tuesday evening at the Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurs, called RICE, in Atlanta, where dozens of Black founders gathered for a powerful night of solution-driven dialogue, connection, and clarity. The event, part of RICE's ongoing retail readiness programming, was more than just a panel. It was a survival forum and a reminder that Black business owners have always had the creativity and courage to adapt under pressure. In a time when economic headwinds are hitting product-based businesses hardest, this community is leaning into strategy, not scarcity. So basically what they're telling people is, if you're an entrepreneur, it's not a time to be scared. It's time to be strategic. And I will say that with everyone, not only if you're a business owner, but in your everyday life right now. Be strategic about what you're doing with your money. I see people talking about, when the stock market goes low, you got to buy. And, when it's high, you sell and all this. I talk to people who've lost a lot of money in their 401ks right now, and they're stressing about it. It's time to strategize. It's time to strategize. And it goes into tariffs are up, but so is wisdom. One of the core challenges explored was the growing strain of tariffs on imported goods, which are driving up costs across the board. From materials and packaging to international shipping, while the threat of economic uncertainty loomed large, the vibe in the room was anything but panic. Now, you're talking about business owners now, small business owners, entrepreneurs, whose livelihood revolves around their business. And this is what they said. When asked if they were afraid of the rising tariffs, only a few attendees raised their hands. But when asked if they were feeling the impact, nearly everyone did. Instead of alarm bells, the conversation centered around solutions, streamlining logistics, taking control of warehousing, cutting unnecessary spending, and reevaluating third-party vendors. The prevailing message: be agile, not afraid. Panelists urged us to audit operations before making drastic changes. The goal isn't to shrink in response to pressure, it's to move smarter. And I'm bringing this up to you because I want you to think about this, even if you're not an entrepreneur, in your everyday life right now. I want you to step back and look at the things that you need to minimize, things you need to be strategic about buying and not buying, things you need to do to cut costs until we know exactly what's going to happen with these tariffs, because we're all going to feel this. And as you hear the economists say, these tariffs are attacks on the people. They're attacks on the people. And yes, should we have been preparing for this once we heard this person was elected? Of course. But did we? Of course not. Some did, some didn't. I'm not going to say everybody. But there are certain steps we should be taking when we know these things are going to happen. It's no different than if you take a different job and take a pay cut. You make adjustments accordingly. Or for those like me who retired within the last year or so, or those federal employees who have lost their jobs or took the buyouts and things like that, you have to adjust accordingly and strategize how you're going to make this work for you. For you, not for everybody else, for you. Your main focus, and I'm going to say it like this, your main focus is to keep a roof over your head. Your main focus should be keeping a roof over your head by whatever you have to do. If you're at a point where you feel you need to downsize, by all means downsize. Just because you have to move into a smaller home does not make you less of the person you were in a big home. We got to get out of this mindset. Strategize. Make it make sense to you. Make it make sense to you. Jacqueline Diggs Barnett, good morning. Good morning, sis. Appreciate you. Make it make sense to you. So it also goes into think bigger, not smaller. Watch this now. Another powerful takeaway. They need to redefine what small business actually means. Many Black entrepreneurs limit their scale out of habit or perceived constraints. But as the panel pointed out, under federal definitions, a small business can employ up to 500 people. That means we've got room to dream and build bigger. Terry Nichelle Bradley, founder of Brown Toy Box, drove this point home with her own journey. Known for placing her educational toys in major retailers like Target, Bradley is now opening her own brick and mortar toy store in Atlanta on May 14th. It's a bold pivot that puts ownership back in her hands. And her story was a standout example of what it means to reclaim narrative and strategy. And I'll go back to Tabitha Brown. Tabitha Brown had all these different things in Target. And then when Target got rid of the DEI and we were talking about boycotting Target, the first thing Tabitha Brown did, in her defense, and I'm not trying to talk about it, I'm just giving you an example. In her defense, she came out and she said, hey, you know, if y'all going to boycott Target, then you're boycotting all the Black businesses that have put their products in Target. Yeah. However, we understand that there's going to be collateral damage with the steps we have to take. But now it's time for you as the entrepreneur to find bigger steps in how you can get your product out of there and place it somewhere else where the consumer that wants your product can still get to it. It's the same thing that we need to do as far as us at this time who aren't entrepreneurs, as far as our money. If you know that you need something, there's different ways. Do your research. Do your research. Get the estimates. It doesn't cost anything to get an estimate. Just don't go with the first person that calls you. Don't go with the first person that comes to mind. Now's the best time. And in the main time, you need to do your research before you just go out here all willy-nilly and say, I need this fixed, and go with the first person. Think bigger, not smaller. Black business owners don't need every answer right away. She told the room, we just need to be willing to figure it out. And this is where I think one of the biggest parts is at this time with what everything is going on, collaboration. Collaboration will make a big factor in what's going on right now. If you can collaborate or even do some joint ventures with other people or other businesses or in your own life, you got family members, y'all come up with a plan on how you're going to do it. Everybody puts in so much money just in case something happens to somebody where we can all be contributing so they don't lose their home, they don't lose their car, whatever may be going on. There's ways to collaborate and come together for us all to be able to make it through this rather than I'm in survival mode. I'm not worried about everybody else. Reclaiming the DEI narrative. The conversation also tackled a hard truth. The post-2020 surge of corporate DEI funding and pledges is fading, but the energy in the room wasn't bitter. It was focused. If external support is drying up, the answer isn't to wait, it's to refocus. Panelists encouraged us to double down on authenticity and connect more deeply with the communities already rooting for us. That means consistently showing up, pitching unapologetically, and nurturing relationships with those who intentionally buy Black, women-owned, and veteran-owned. This isn't just about representation, it's about ownership, self-definition, and economic independence. Now, I want to stop here for a minute and say this. I know, like you know, that a lot of us, and it goes back to what I said earlier about, us talking about there's no drama, but it goes into this. A lot of us will only give a Black-owned business one opportunity. One opportunity. And if it doesn't go right that first time, we cut them off and we move on to something else. I want to ask everyone out here, if you've had that experience where you went to a Black-owned business and they weren't on time or they weren't open or the customer service was bad at a certain time or whatever, I want you to think about all the other big stores you go to that may be open on time, but the customer service is bad. The people treat you like, they following you around, all the different things you can think of that they do in these big stores, but you still go to. Let's get back to the thinking of buying our own, for us, by us. Because even though your experience may have been bad, even though your experience may be bad, you don't know everything that's going on behind the scenes with that business, especially now with all these things going on. So I would say at this time, with everything going on, with the tariffs going on, buy Black. Go and support the Black businesses, women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, small businesses let's go and deal with them and start buying from them during this time that the tariffs are in, because they're going to be impacted just like the big stores. The big stores can handle it. The small businesses, they're going to be affected even more because of the logistics, the tariffs they're going to be paying on top of the products they provide. Just saying. Support my business. Life Justice Coaching Solutions, same thing. It's the same thing. I never talk about it, but it's something that we need to start investing in our own people, in our own businesses, and giving them an opportunity to provide a service. Not just the one time that you didn't feel comfortable with what they did. Give them a second chance, because you don't know. It may have been a bad day. It may have been one of them days when we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but we'll cut them off like this. Remember I just talked about the no drama? Think about it. Community capital is real capital. The evening ended on a high note with a hands-on networking activity. We were asked to write down two things: what we needed and what we could offer. Then we exchanged that information with someone across the room. It was more than an icebreaker. It was a blueprint. The message was crystal clear. Relationships, listen to this clear, relationships are resources. Relationships are resources. And in rooms like this, collaboration is currency. At a time when headlines talk recession and pullback, the entrepreneurs I sat with are doing the opposite. They're not waiting for a bailout or a miracle funding. They're building their future one intentional move at a time. No panic, just purpose, and a whole lot of power in the room. Now, I say that because we're talking about business, but we should also be looking at this at this time as far as building this community that we talk about all the time back. Us coming together to do the things that we know we can do within our communities. And the community doesn't mean it has to be somebody across the street. That's where I think the mindset needs to be. Community, with all the ways you can get in touch with people, with Zoom calls and all these things, community can be as broad as you want it to be. But it's about building together, not tearing apart. That's just one example of what small businesses are doing. And that's one place in Atlanta that they had this meeting that entrepreneurs came together to try to come up with a way, for them all to be okay doing these tariffs and everything we got on, because it's going to affect all of us. I don't care, like I said, I don't care if you're a business owner or not, it's going to affect all of us. You got to make smart decisions at this time. You have to make the smart decisions at this time, and don't go further into debt now because these tariffs are going high for things that you don't necessarily need, but it's just something that you want. Just want to put that out there. So let me get into this other part. We all talked about it, and we talked about it last week. Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders fell off the draft board. I think he finally went in the 5th round, the 100 and something pick, something like that. And we all know, and as I mentioned last week, it's not going to stop most of y'all, and I say y'all, from watching football when it comes on, because we're conditioned that way. We're conditioned a certain way that we will still turn the TV on and watch football, just like we always have. No matter how much we complained about what was done to this young man, we'll still turn the TV on and watch football. It's a conditioning. But this article that I found talks about why America keeps making Black fathers the villains of sports. Why America keeps making Black fathers the villain of sports. And I want to put it this way. And then here it mentions, in the billion-dollar business of sports, there's no image more quietly threatening to the system than a strong involved Black father. There's nothing more threatening than a strong, involved Black father. We see it time and time again. LeVar Ball, with his 3 sons, was called arrogant because he said his boys would be in the NBA. They talk smack about him. They put him on all these shows, and he was very boisterous or whatever. 2 out of 3 made it. One had an opportunity. He did some stupid stuff when he was in college, but one had an opportunity. He didn't make it, but they were prepared. He prepared them. Deion Sanders, Shedeur's father, is called selfish because they think that he is using his sons to stay relevant. You know, he's a coach. He coached at Jackson State. They were there with him. Then he went to Colorado. They went there with him. They say, and he is using his kids to stay relevant. Deion Sanders will be relevant no matter what, because he's one of the greatest athletes that we've seen on the football field and baseball field at the same time. Richard Williams, Serena and Venus's father, was labeled crazy long before the world knew the names Venus and Serena. LeBron James, as I've mentioned before, is somehow criticized for supporting his son Bronny too publicly. Too publicly. And then we got Tiger Woods' father, Earl Woods, was portrayed as controlling figure even as he raised one of the greatest golfers in the world, that the world has ever seen. So I'm just giving you names of people at this level when you talk about sports. Their fathers being vilified because of what they did to push them into greatness, to train them into greatness, to stand beside them during their greatness. And it's an issue. It's an issue. And it says, and I forgot one. Cecil Newton, Cam Newton's father, Cecil Newton Sr., faced public scrutiny simply for advocating for his son. When he went from college to college to college, before he went to the pros, he went to a couple of different colleges. And because this man, his father, was advocating for him in every space he could find, he was publicly scrutinized for supporting his son in those spaces. And let me go back to what it says again. Why America keeps making black fathers the villains of sports. And it says opinion. This is an opinion column by Jonathan Conyers. And it says, in the billion-dollar business of sports, there's no image more quietly threatening to the system than a strong, involved black father. Why? Why? The blueprint is clear. When a black father stands at the center of his child's success, guiding, protecting, pushing back against exploitation, the media paints him as a problem. Because he is there making sure that his child is not being taken advantage of by big corporations, by the business owners of these teams. And then they're labeled as egomaniacs. They say they're getting in the way because they're looking out for the livelihood of their child. Because strong black fathers, in their opinion, disrupt the narrative. They disrupt the narrative. The system isn't just invested in the talent of black athletes, it is invested in controlling them. A young black athlete without guidance is easier to manipulate, easier to underpay, easier to pit against others, easier to brand, profit from, and discard when convenient. And let me digress for a minute here. Because I want to bring this up, because if you really think about it, we've heard for too long, black fathers are not involved. Black fathers aren't in the home. Black fathers this, black fathers that, all these different negative connotations around black fathers. Either they're in jail and the mothers raised them by themselves. You know the stereotypes they put out there. Some of this is true. But when it comes to the media, when a person gets drafted or whatever, they always show the mother, or they talk about the father being in jail, or he's a convicted felon, or any of these type of things you can think about that puts a negative connotation on the father being in that kid's life. But now that the narrative has changed and the fathers are in control and in these spaces, it's an issue. It's an issue. So you have to ask yourself, why is it an issue? Why was Shedeur Sanders not drafted in the first round like he was projected to be? Had more to do with his father than it did with him. Because they put up this narrative that he was arrogant in these interviews and all these different things. But Deion is Deion. Excuse me. And Deion has been Deion since I remember Deion being Deion. But that black father is an issue. It's an issue. It's an issue. And the thing is, the ones that speak loudly are the ones that are vilified because they have the confidence in their children to be great because that's what they've instilled in them. But it's a negative by the views of some people. And it says, a strong black father changes the terms of the deal. He demands better contracts. He questions coaching decisions. He protects his child's mental health over the franchise's bottom line. He reminds the world that his son or daughter is not just an asset, but a human being with a family, dreams, and dignity. And that's where the real fear lies. Letting that child know boy or girl, letting that child know from that black father, you're worthy of everything that you are gaining and you're accomplishing in this life. But if I can minimize you to feel like you're just a selection on a draft board, which they want to say is kind of like, the plantation mentality of putting the slaves up on the auction block. That's what they say. I didn't say it, they did. But it says the image of a united black family, not fractured, not absent, not broken, challenges deeply rooted stereotypes that American society has long relied on to justify inequity. I want to go back because I wanted to bring this up. And I want to put this here right now. Because I'm not going to go through this whole article. I just want you to get your idea. Because here's where the water gets muddy. Let's just be real. So Shedeur Sanders during draft time got a phone call. It was a prank phone call, they found out later on, saying that he was going to be taken with the next pick. I don't know all the particulars because I didn't get into it. But it was a young man whose father is a defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. He made the prank call, said he got the number because his father's pad was open. They tried to say that he didn't just call Shedeur, he called other people. But let's get into this because this is something I want to bring up with this. This is, what's his name? His son's name is Jax Ulbrich. This is the father. Now, mind you, there's some video still shots of the son, but you don't see his son's picture up like this. Not the way you would see a young African-American who may have committed a crime plastered all over the place. This boy is 21 years old. His son is 21 years old, but you have not seen any still pictures. It's not blown up out of this, not blown up out of proportion. Why? Complexion for the protection. Now I want to get into Jackson. He is an NFL player. He isn't employed by a team, yet within 24 hours, the league's Atlanta Falcons issued a statement saying the discovery of the phone number by Jax was unintentional. Despite the team saying they don't condone this behavior, there was no real accountability. Just another moment which feeds a narrative where a young non-black man gets brushed off as a kid who made a harmless mistake. Is what they say. Shedeur Sanders, just 2 years older at 23, faced intense scrutiny during the pre-draft process for far less concrete actions. Rumored bad interviews, questions about his confidence, and the shadow of carrying the Sanders name all became points of criticism. Despite no public evidence supporting the concerns, the narrative against him took hold and contributed to his fall to the 144th pick and the Cleveland Browns. But they say Jax didn't stop there. Rumors suggest Jax may have also pranked other players like Tyler Warren, Kyle McCord, Chase Lunt, and Isaiah Bond. And yet, no serious consequences, not for Jax, not for his father, who was responsible for securing the private information that allowed these calls to happen. All they did was pay the fine. The Atlanta Falcons paid a fine, and so did the coach pay a fine. Nothing done to the son, just an apology, from what I read. But you see the difference? Now, the question should be asked, as I talked about black fathers being president, Shedeur's black father was president. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's carrying himself as a good citizen. But this guy, his son, does this. No one's questioning the parenting. Hell, they ain't even questioning the son. They're apologizing for his actions, but there's no consequences to his actions. What's the consequences to Shedeur Sanders? Actions, so they say, because he walks with a confidence that has been instilled in him by his father, being picked 144th when he should have been in the top 10 of the draft. Think about the consequences of the money he lost because of perception rather than an action compared to what Jax Ulbrich did, who's 21, who can be held accountable. He's not a minor. But he's not being held accountable. He's not held to the same bar as Shedeur Sanders, who is the athlete. But he's just the son of a defensive coordinator. No consequences, no actions, no punishment, just a slap on the wrist. And they, as they say, when it comes to young white males, this is the conversation you get. Well, he made a mistake. One mistake shouldn't ruin his life. He has a good career ahead of him. Let me fall back to what I always talk about on this show. What about those young men that served 20, 30, 40 years in jail for crimes they didn't commit? Do we hear that about them? Do they get the benefit of the doubt like this young man got? It's a double standard. It's a double standard. And when you see this, if you don't get upset, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. Because Shedeur Sanders has suffered immensely from the perception of him and who he is as a man and an athlete. The amount of money he has lost because of that is all about perception and basically saying, stay in your place. We couldn't tell your father to stay in his place when he played because he was such a great athlete and we needed him at the time because he was prime time. But now, the residual fallout is going to affect you and your brother and anybody else that comes along the line with the name Sanders. Why? Because we can. Because we can. And Jackson Olbrick will continue to go on with his life. He'll find a job. He'll be able to move on because nowhere, anywhere will anybody have any derogatory statements about him because what they'll do in the spaces that he travels, man, I can't believe you did that, man. How did it feel? They'll boost him up. They'll boost him up because he got away with something that was so derogatory. Something that we know. People who look like me know we would never be able to get away with. Never. Complexion for the protection. And people get mad when I keep saying it, but I'm going to continue to say it. He has the complexion for the protection, which is why there was no consequences, no actions, nothing done to him other than the pain of a fine. And he didn't pay the fine. He didn't pay the fine. His father paid the fine. The Atlanta Falcons paid the fine. What about him? What about him? It's crazy. It's crazy. I just don't, I guess there's no way around to say it anyway else. When you see these things, when we see these things, it makes my blood boil. Because we always hear these people talking about unity and we're better than that and all these different things. But we're not. In all reality, we're not. It's the same old, same old. It's the same old, same old. That's how we do. Let's go. Straight talk. Let me gather myself, y'all. Let me gather myself. This section, this part right here is along the lines of my coaching. My coaching, Lifegistics Coaching Solutions. Everybody knows that recently I became a life coach, certified life coach, master certified life coach. Launched my business, working through this, getting things done. But the main thing about my Lifegistics Coaching Solution is I'm here to awaken the best version of you. That's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to instill in you. And I'm going to get into this a little later, but I'm going to bring it up now. A life coach is not a mental health person. I'm not a certified doctor in any way. I'm here to help you pull out what you already know you're capable of, that you just need a little help with getting started. I'm like jumper cables. I'm going to hook up what I can do, the questions to ask, the things that you know you want to do. I'm here to put them jumper cables on you and boost you to get you motivated to move you to where you want to get to in the time you want to get there. I don't have the answers for you. You have the answers. I'm just here to pull them out of you. You have the answers on what you want to do and how you want to do it. I'm just here to pull it out of you. If you need some, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. If you need some mental health help or anything like that, if you reach out to me, I can get you somebody. I can find somebody to help you out, but that's not what I do. What I do is I'm trying to help you get to the next level, awaken the best version of you in everything you do going forward. If you're transitioning into a new career, if you have lacking in confidence, all those type things, that's what the life coaching is all about. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. So what I want to do is get into this. And came up with this, and it's called Healing Out Loud. Why silence isn't strength. Why silence isn't strength. Because a lot of times we think silence is a sign of strength. But I got something for you this morning. Let's get into this. So the healing out loud, why silence isn't strength? You got 5 different variations of this. Silence trap, why speaking heals, real ways to heal out loud, coaching challenge, and healing. And we're going to jump into this. So healing out loud, why silence isn't strength? Let me say that again. Healing out loud. Silence isn't strength. Due to contrary belief, silence isn't strength. We were taught to bottle it up, keep it moving, smile through the pain. But I'm here to tell you, that's not healing, that's surviving. And you hear me talk about this a lot. Are you living or are you surviving? Being silent and moving in silence, suffering in silence, it's not healing. It's just surviving. You're just surviving whatever you're going through. You're just surviving it. You're not healing and trying to get past it. I choose to grow. I choose to live. And I want you to have that same mindset. I want you to have that same mindset. Let's get into this. So it says, the silent trap, number 1. You ever been in a place where you're hurting, but couldn't say it? That pain you feel from something and you just don't know how to say it because you're worried about people viewing you as being weak. You didn't feel safe to share what's going on with you. Or maybe you just didn't know how. I've been there. Trust me, I've been there. For years, I thought holding it in was a badge of honor. Not expressing my feelings, not letting go of my emotions, all those things. It was a badge of honor for people to say, man, you strong. While all along, suffering in silence. I didn't cry, didn't vent, didn't ask for help. Which one of the biggest roadblocks to us is we don't ask for help when we need help. Because somewhere along the way, I believe the lie, and this is a big lie that we're told, that vulnerability equals weakness. I fed into the lie that being vulnerable shows weakness. But let me tell you what silence cost me. It cost me peace, it cost me connection, it nearly cost me myself. And when I say nearly cost myself, I'm not saying that I was suicidal or anything like that. I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression. When I say nearly cost me myself, I'm saying that I didn't even know who I was at a particular time. That's how far my silence had taken me. Where I was trying to find out who I was in a world of identifying myself of who everybody thought I was. I had lost who I was with the perception of what everyone else thought I was, and I started fitting into that mold. I had a mask on because I was being silent about what I was suffering with. See, we live in a culture that celebrates strength, but it defines it all wrong. We're praised for being strong when we don't speak out about our pain. But that's not strength, that's suppression. We're suppressing the pain, and it starts affecting us in another way. You start having health issues. Because the more stress and all that suppression you're doing, you start having the health issues. And some of y'all listening right now, you're carrying that pain and you never voiced it. You're still carrying it. And a lot of that pain comes from shame. You're carrying the shame of things that you've done in your past, and it's pain that you're carrying around because you're allowing people's view of you and who you used to be cause you to continue to walk around with that shame that you can shed at any time you choose to, when you choose to forgive yourself first. It's a big step. Don't get me wrong, it's a big step, but it's able to happen. That's the silence trap. Not speaking about it, not dealing with it, just letting it go. Living in silence, living in denial. Segment 2, why speaking heals. So here's where the narrative shifts. Healing out loud doesn't mean oversharing. It doesn't mean you got to tell everybody what's going on with you or anything like that. It doesn't mean airing your business out to the world. It means releasing what's been suffocating you. I always tell people, and I'm going to digress for a minute. I always tell people this. If you're going through something, if you had a loss of someone, went through a divorce or anything like that, being strong is the first thing we run to. But we don't think about healing. We don't think about healing from whatever trauma we've just experienced. So what I advise people, I say, look here. Sometimes you need to just get in the car, drive yourself somewhere to an open space, get out of that car and just yell, scream, cry, let it out. Because everything you've been holding in up to that point needs to be released. It's like the pressure in a pipe. If a pipe has a blockage, or if you have something in your body that has a blockage, it's only going to push for so long trying to move that blockage to go somewhere else. But eventually, once it stops moving for good and it can't move anymore, it starts to swell. It starts to swell. And then what happens? It's an explosion. So all these things you've been holding in for all these years, and it's finally come to a head, that explosion could be very detrimental to who you are, to the people that love you. All the things you can think of about holding that in can cause more harm than help, just because you choose to be silent and not heal from whatever is ailing you. When you speak your truth, you take your power back. You take your power back. Pain grows in silence, but healing begins in honesty. You deserve to find you a safe space where you can say, I'm not okay, that broke me, or I need help. I'm not okay, that broke me, or I need help. Because truth is your healing. It might unlock someone else's. Your story, your transparency, it might be the thing that reminds someone that they're not alone. And it has this quote here. Your silence may protect your image, but your voice protects your soul. Your silence may protect your image by how everybody else views you, but your voice protects your soul. Silence is not strength. It's a protection mechanism. So you don't feel exposed to those you think may use it against you. Segment 3, real ways to heal out loud. How do you do this? How do we actually heal out loud? Here's a few ways. Go to therapy. Say it with me. Therapy is not taboo. Let me say, therapy is not taboo. Going to see a therapist is part of healing. Doesn't mean you're crazy. Doesn't mean you're broken to the point of not being able to be repaired. Therapy is part of healing. Journaling. If you can't say it to someone, write it down and then read it out loud, even just to yourself. Safe conversations. Find that friend, that sibling, that mentor who can hold your truth without judgment. This is one of the biggest things that I want people to listen to. Safe conversations. Let me say this to everybody out there. If you have a conversation with someone, it's not for everyone. Whether you think it is for everyone or not is not your choice. If someone confides in you, keep it confidential. Because here's what you'll find out. If someone confides in you about something that you think is so small that you share it with somebody else, you have just put that healing process back 10 steps. Because number one, that person decided to talk to you about what's going on with them that they probably couldn't talk to anybody else about because they felt you were a safe space. And you broke that trust by telling someone else what's going on with that person. And that person will never confide in you again because that trust has been broken. And every time you see every time that person sees you, They're going to step back 10 steps from healing because they're always going to remember that they went to someone that they felt they could confide in, and you broke that trust. Don't do that. And the person shouldn't have to say, man, it's between me and you. They shouldn't have to say that. Everything you discuss with somebody is not for everybody else's consumption. And if I have to start off, watch this now. If I have to start off the conversation before I have it with you and say, now, you know, this is just between me and you, right? Now, I got to step back for a minute and say, if I got to say that to somebody I'm trying to confide in, that ain't the person I want to confide in. Let's just be honest. If I have to tell you it's just between us, that means one or two things. Either you've told me something that somebody else has told you in confidence and I don't want to tell you, or I've told you something before and you told somebody anyway. Art, music, poetry, podcast, creative expression is a healing language. And listen, don't wait until your phone apart to start talking. Don't wait until everything is falling all down around you to start talking. Speak now, even if your voice shakes. I used to say something, no matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. No matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be to somebody. There's a mirror in every one of your houses. Talk to yourself. Look in that mirror. Talk to yourself. Breathe life into yourself. Deal with what has broken you or made you feel broken in order for you to heal. Get help when you need help. Stop suffering in silence. Silence is not strength, y'all. As much as we've been told it is, it's not. Speak out. I'm sorry. Coaching challenge. This is a challenge I want everybody to look at this week. We don't just talk here. I want action. We want to take action. Here's this week's coaching challenge. I want you to heal out loud in a small intentional way. This is what I want you to do. You got options. Text or call someone you trust and say, I need a real conversation. I need a real conversation. Not the conversation you call up and say, what's going on? You're talking about the sports. No. I need a real conversation. Not starting it off with, hey, man, I need to tell you something, but let's keep it between us. No. I need a real conversation, bro. I need a real conversation, sis. I need to be real with you right now about something that I'm dealing with, and I need you to listen. Or record a voice note to yourself expressing how you feel, raw and unfiltered. Now, these things that might seem a little awkward. However, it's always the first step that you have to take, because if you can talk to yourself, then eventually you'll be able to talk to somebody else about what's going on with you. Get that? Everybody got the cell phone? Everybody got a cell phone? It's got voice recorder on there. Tell yourself exactly how you're feeling. Tell yourself what you're dealing with. Tell yourself what's going on in your life where you don't feel good, where you don't feel safe, where you think you need some healing somehow, some way. Talk it through. Or post a truth online that you've been afraid to share, if that's your vibe. I mean, you don't want everybody in your business, but if there's something out there, sometimes people just find different quotes to express where they're at right now in their life. Post a quote. See what the comments say. Post a quote up there. If it'll make you feel better about what you're going through, there's all kinds of quotes out there you can find that are equal to what you may be going through. Just post it. People don't know for sure if you're going through, because people are going to assume you're going through something if you post something, especially if it's about a relationship. Or use hashtag healing out loud. Healing out loud after you post something. Just hashtag healing out loud. See how many people respond to that. See, there's ways that we can reach out without just reaching out and being, obvious about it, if you don't want to be, but stop being silent about it. There's little clues you can leave. Someone's going to pick up on. And number 5 is healing. Healing. Your healing is sacred. Your voice is powerful. Your truth is enough. Your healing is sacred. Your voice is powerful. Your truth is enough. Don't suffer in silence. Don't confuse being quiet with being strong. There's so much strength in saying, I'm ready to heal. I'm ready to heal. And if nobody told you today, let me tell you, I'm proud of you. No matter what anybody else says, no matter what's going on in your life, I'm proud of you because you made it this far. You didn't just make it this far by chance. You've made it this far, and I'm proud of you fighting a good fight to make it this far. Now that you've made it this far, the journey's not over. As I always say, where you been, where you at, and where you're going. Right now is where you're at. And I'm proud of where you're at. But now I want to be even prouder of you about where you're going and how you're going to get there. And what tools are you going to use to get there? And are you going to start talking out loud and stop being silent of what you're struggling with? And take it to the next step of understanding that I can do this. I just need a little help. I need to reach out to somebody. I need to start expressing what's going on with me, because you never know who's been there or who is right there at the same time you are, unless you open your mouth. Something that I always hear, and people always say, and I say it often, closed mouth don't get fed. A closed mouth does not get fed. So we got to stop suffering in silence. Keep going, keep growing, and keep speaking on it. Keep speaking on what is ailing you, what's going on with you. Reach out, call somebody, and just let them know, man, I need to have a real conversation. I need to have a real conversation about what I'm dealing with and what I'm going through. Your vulnerability needs to be brought down a notch. Bring it on down. Bring it on down. Peace, power, and healing. Remember those three words. You want peace. You have the power to get your peace, but it all starts with healing. Peace, power, healing. There it is. There it is. There it is. That's our coaching for today. That's our coaching for today from the Life Justice Coaching Solutions. I wanted to put that out there because it was something I was looking at. And you know, we always talk about suffering in silence. And there's many people out there listening today that have had instances where they were going through things, they didn't talk to anybody about it and all these different things, and you resorted to other things. It may have been drinking, may have been womanizing. Let's be transparent. There's always things that we have that fill that gap, that void that we're feeling at the time, that we resort to things that may not be who we are, but it's the easiest thing to resort to. It happens. But until you start talking and expressing and realizing that these are my issues, this is what's going on with me, I'm ready to heal, you're going to keep doing that same cycle over and over and over again. You know, we pray. We all hope and pray that we don't resort to something that's going to be detrimental to our lives. But there's ways that can happen without you even realizing it. Because we have to heal. Somehow, some way, we have to start the healing process, and we have to heal out loud. And the thing is, you always hear me talking about, celebrate your wins. Celebrate your wins. You hear me say it all the time, right? Well, I want you to celebrate your healing. Celebrate that you're in the process of healing. Celebrate that you're leaving those old things you used to do that you thought you were healing from. You left them behind, and now you're on to a new way of handling things. Healing, whenever we hear healing, we think about doctors. We think about hospitals. We think about all those things. But healing is a mindset. You have to be ready to heal. And I'm not talking about in just one capacity. I'm talking about as a whole. I'm talking about as a whole, because we all carry the baggage that has been put in our way far too long. When I talk about the PTSD as us as Black folks, we need healing from that, because it goes on, it still goes on. But what are we doing to heal ourselves from those stereotypes, from the way they view us, from the things that happen to us, no matter where we are young, our ancestors, we still carry that baggage. But what are we doing to heal that? I know one thing for me is to talk about it. Put it out there. I don't care about the race baiting names and all that stuff. I'm healing out loud. I'm going to say how I feel, when I feel, about how it is These things are happening, and you should do the same. Stop holding it in. Put it out there. Let those people who don't know, let them know. Let them know. Stop suffering in silence. Hey, Michelle, thank you. Good morning. That's where we're at. That's where we're at, y'all. So I wanted to put that out there because there's so much going on when we talk about in this world that we tend to lose focus on the things we really need to heal from in order to get us to the next level of where we're trying and who we're trying to become. And I had another quote for the mind, body, and soul, but I'm just going to say this. It's okay. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I'm not going to play the opening or anything like that. I'm just going to say it this way. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. And as I said, I'm not a mental health doctor, but I'm a mental health advocate. And I will say it this way. It's okay to not be okay. It's not okay to stay that way. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to wake up one day, you ain't in a good mood, you got all these things going on, you're worrying about the job, you're worrying about, somebody sick in your family, all these things. It's okay to not be okay. It becomes an issue when you decide to stay not okay. There's ways you can get past these things if you choose to. That woe is me attitude, that mindset of, all these things happen to me, the world's falling apart, my car broke down. It's okay. And it's going to be okay. But you can't stay not okay. You got to push back. You got to fight back. Stop letting not being okay be the status quo in your life. Because if you allow the not being okay to be your status quo, you will never see the full greatness of who you were put on this earth to become. Stop it. Stop holding on to this person did me wrong or that person did me wrong or they view me differently because I did this. Come on. We're all broken to a certain extent. Something in our lives has broken us, but we repaired it. We can repair it if we admit to it, if we heal from it. And the biggest thing is to understand that whatever you're going through today does not define who you are tomorrow. If it defines who you are tomorrow, guess what it's going to define? That you persevered. Not that you're what happened to you, but what you've overcome. We got to get better with that. We got to change our mindset and thinking about these things, because until we get to the point where we start doing our healing out loud, we're always going to resort back to who we used to be rather than who we're trying to become. Because we're holding on to that. Because sometimes, and I'm going to leave y'all with this. Sometimes we don't take the steps to heal because it's easier to stay where we're broken. Let me say it again. It's easy to stay where we're broken because we have an excuse. See, we've let what broke us become our excuse to just be mediocre. Let that marinate. Some people waddle and stay in that broken place because it's gotten comfortable. They've gotten comfortable there. And what they don't realize, they're suffering in silence because they choose to, not because there's no way out. Take heed to that. Take heed to that. Pick up the phone this week. Call somebody. Tell them, I need a conversation. A real conversation. 770-880-4528. If you need a real conversation, call me. 770-880-4528. Or you can reach out to me on the Life Justice website, or you can send me a message through the Gmail. It's lifejusticecoaching@gmail.com. I'm available. Let's talk about it. Let's make it happen. Let's start healing one day at a time. All right. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I appreciate everybody tuning in today. Thank you for all the birthday shout outs, all the birthday greetings and everything, as I mentioned in the beginning. And also, I want to say this to my people. We are not who they perceive us to be. We are who we are. And that's great. We are a great people. Stop minimizing yourself to who they think you are. Stop minimizing yourself to fit in who they want you to be, and be great at everything you do. That's it. That's all. I'll be back again next week. I'll be back again next week. I got some guests coming up. I'll let y'all know about that once I get them on the schedule. But as I always say before I sign off, enjoy your weekend too. As I always say before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely, keep your faith in God. He's never left you nor forsaked you. I appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all again next week. I'm out. I love y'all. Peace.